Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Beijing David. Recently, a lot of people inside China have started to believe that the RMB is appreciating. This is a completely illusion. Today, I'm only going to use data to explain what's actually happening. As for the deeper reasons behind it, I'll break those down in future videos. So, many people constantly hear Chinese media and so-called experts repeat the same claim, that the RMB is about to strengthen, that the USD RMB exchange will soon move from 7 back to 6, and that in the future it might even reach something absurd like 3 to 1. But very few people realize this. The real purpose of this RMB appreciating narrative has nothing to do with helping you to understand the economy. It has only one goal: to calm you down and stop you from buying US dollars. Why do they want you to stop? Because one increasingly hard to hide reality is China is facing a serious US dollar liquidity problem. Today, I'll explain this in a very simple way. Let's start with the conclusion. What the CCP is really afraid of right now is ordinary people rushing to banks in the remaining days of this year to exchange RMB for dollars. China has too many peoples. Once even a small percentage of population starts moving together, you don't need everyone. Just a small wave is enough to create enormous pressure on dollar liquidity. And this year, China also happens to have several external debts coming due. Debts, in all likelihood, must be repaid in US dollars. That's why you are seeing the followings. Media outlets releasing signals saying the RMB will keep appreciating, telling people not to rush to use their foreign exchange quota. Some even encourage you to convert foreign currency back to RMB, claiming you can make money because the RMB is threatening. Put bluntly, the message is simple. Don't convert RMB into foreign currency. Keep your money inside the system. Let them get through this year first. And then what? Then policies change next year, and exchanging currency becomes even harder. So how do we prove that this RMB appreciation story is misleading? Very simply, many people see changes in the USD RMB rate and assume the RMB is getting stronger. But exchange rates are not determined by one currency alone. They are formed by two currencies together. What you are saying could mean the RMB is appreciating, or the dollar is depreciating, or both are weakening, just at different speeds. So to see the truth, you only need to check two things. 1. How the US dollars has performed against other major currencies. 2. How the RMB has performed against those same currencies. Let me give you a very simple example, the British pound. According to the average international exchange rate data, the US dollar has been weakening against the pound this year. In January, 1 GBP is about 1.21 USD. By October, 1 GBP is about 1.34 USD. What does this mean? The same pound now buys more dollars. In other words, the dollar has depreciated against the pound. So when you see changes in the USD RMB rate, a big part of that movement may simply be dollar weakness, not RMB strength. Some people then ask, does that mean the UK economy is doing great? Of course not. The UK has inflation, economic pressure, public frustration, so the idea that the currency up equals economy strong is nonsense. I mention this to make one point clear. Don't let one signal indicator fool you. Now let's go back to the RMB. How has the RMB performed against the pound? In January, 100 RMB is about 11.1 GBP. By October, 100 RMB is about 10.7 GBP. That means the RMB depreciated against the pound. Now look at the euro. In January, 100 RMB is about 13.24 euros. By October, 100 RMB is about 12.05 euro. Against a clear depression, and this decline continued throughout the year. So at this point, any rational person should understand the claim that the RMB is appreciating does not hold up against the pound or the euro. What you are seeing in USD RMB looks much more like this. The US dollar is weakening, and the RMB is also weakening against other major currencies, not just as fast. So why do domestic media keep pushing the RMB appreciation story? Because they want you to believe one thing. If the RMB is getting stronger, then I shouldn't buy dollars. And the truth is, the dollars are exactly what they like. If you still think this is speculation, let's keep looking at the hard facts. There's a very important policy change coming at the end of this year. Starting January 1st next year, when ordinary people go to banks to exchange or remit foreign currency, once you exceed a very low threshold, equivalent to 5,000 RMB or just 1,000 USD dollars, the banks can subject you to much more detailed due diligence. Listen carefully. $1,000. What can that amount even do? Almost nothing. The real meaning of this rule is simple. It massively expands banks' discretion to refuse currency exchange. They can find almost any reason to say no. This is not market behavior. This is administrative control. And when administrative controls appear at moments like this, they usually point to one thing. Dollar liquidity is tight enough that they need to block exist in advance. That's even stronger evidence. What has the CCP actually been doing? Selling US Treasuries. According to the international disclosures up to the end of November, China's US Treasury holdings have fallen to their lowest level since 2008. By November, holdings were around 660 billion USD. In October, the US Treasury data showed 688.7 billion USD, marking the first time since 2008 that holdings fell below 700 billion. Over the course of 2025 alone, China's Treasury holding dropped by more than 10%, roughly 100 billion USD sold in a single year. Here's the more absurd part. 2025 was actually a very good year for US Treasury yields, 10 yields around 4.1%, 70-year yields above 4%. What would a normal investor do? Hold high-yield assets and collect interest. But what did China do? It sold high-yield treasuries and exchanged them for dollars that offer lower returns and declining purchasing power. Ask yourself, do you think they did this because the dollar is weak? Or because they need dollars to repay debts, buy energy, and purchase critical raw materials? The answer isn't hard. I always say this. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. They say the RMB is strong and dollar is weak, but they are selling treasuries and holding dollars. That's like someone claiming they are not short on cash while selling their house, selling their car, and borrowing money every day. Do you think they believe their own words? Some people then ask, if China's trade surplus is so large, over $1 trillion, where did all the dollars go? I say just one thing. A surplus on paper does not mean you have freely usable dollar cash flow. Settlement structures, offshore funds, repatriation limits, all of this can make numbers look great while the money never really comes back or comes back in restricted forms. Here's the only one reality you need to focus on. If dollar reserves were truly sufficient, there would be no reason to tell US Treasuries in high-yield year like this. And there will be no reason to push exchange scrutiny down to $1,000. They are doing this because they genuinely like dollars. So the core message of today's video is simple. The RMB appreciation narrative exists to stop you from exchange currency. The real background is tight dollar liquidity. If you learn one method, it's this. Look at how the dollar performs against other major currencies. Look at how the RMB performs against those major currencies. Then look at what the CCP is actually doing in the market. To do that, you are much harder to fool. The CCP has managed to deceive people for over 70 years, not because of luck, not because of experience. If you don't think for yourself, if you only listen to what they say and watch what they broadcast, you become an easy target. And that's all for today. If you want me to explain next why the RMB will continue losing value or whether it could eventually become worthless, leave a comment. I'll see you next time.